and it's going to be the Naga Siren. So a way to deal with the Juggernaut kind of indirectly. Juggernaut can't really ever commit onto Naga unless he knows that Manta and Mirror Image and stuff like that are down. It does leave open the possibility, though, of Chaos maybe running some sort of aggro lane and doing similar to kind of what TFT tried to do last game, where they put the Axe against the core and just try to do some really high pressure lane, and then have the Jug in a kill lane against the the safe laner. But we'll have to see what happens here because we still got 2 picks on the side of Chaos to go. But I still think that TFT are in a pretty good position. I also like Naga against Axe because the hero has extremely high natural armor, and once the Axe gets a blade mail, since the type of damage reflected is the damage that you deal, it means that you don't really die super fast unless you're standing with your illusions, which a good Naga should never be standing with your illusions. So it also means that you can song to run away, allows you to take engagements whenever you want. Overall, I'm a fan. I like this hero for this game.
All right. Chaos Esports Club, possibly still looking for Misery's hero. Milan playing the Dark Willow last game. Ooh, that's been a while since we've seen the Magnus Juggernaut combo. The support Mag, though?
I think it will it has to be. Because Dark Willow is probably going to be, I would assume, 4, and then Mag 5. I mean, it's not the best lane, but at the same time, Juggernaut probably doesn't need a whole lot of help this game. And then you can just have the Axe creep cut wherever else. Worst case scenario, you can just try lane and leave the Axe alone. If you really feel like you're getting pressured that much. Like Sand King is one of those heroes where if he does end up being a 3 and he matches up against a Jug, he'll just get farm. But Chaos, to me, look like they want to be playing the longer game, or at the very least have the ability to transition into that late game. It also means that they'll be able to save Matu's hero for last. But that is 9th pick. Let's see, does anything stand out for either team? They could go back for something like DP, like he played last game, just a hero to group up around. Allows them very easy objective taking. And it's also kind of... Oh, it's banned, excuse me.
Yeah. Radiant team back.
Another Matumba Man classic, the Lone Druid. Would have been good for the same reason, just a hero with a 5-man with.
Yeah, this does go back to as well. Again, they don't know if that's going to be a mid-tiny or just another last pick, and so you don't want to think to counter the mid-tiny matchup, and then all of a sudden you counter yourself. So it's a tough spot for Chaos.
10 seconds remaining.
It all comes down to as well, again, where they're going to run the Magnus and the Axe, though.
5 seconds
as
remaining.
those could possibly interchange with their roles. And then on top of all of that, is you have to think, do you want another empower target, or is Juggernaut enough to take care of that?
I think Jug might be enough. I also think that no matter what, Chaos want the Axe versus Sand King lane. I think that's what they want the most. So Juggernaut might end up just going the off lane in this game. Because, worst case for Chaos, the Axe just creep cuts against the Sand King, right? And the Sand King can't ever really pressure him directly. They just both get farm, and that's whatever, because you have a Magnus empowering your Jug, and he's going to accelerate. And that's going to be kind of where you try to win the game. I like the Sniper ban, because they do have some catch. But given TFT's lineup, they have so much to protect him. Like they have Song, they have a Sand King who's going to get blinked, they have a Tiny who's probably going to get blinked as well. A lot of peel, a lot of ways to reset the fight.
5 seconds remaining.
So what is Matumba Man's hero? I haven't really been seeing him a whole lot play, personally, because I don't watch a lot of Chaos games.
Okay.
Ooh, the Dazzle.
Huh. Still not sure who's going to end up where with that pick. They could...
That is an... I don't know about that one, to be honest. I mean, it's a strong laner for sure. Like, Dazzle is kind of, in my opinion at least, been forgotten about a bit, but his laning phase is still really, really darn good.
10 seconds remaining.
Yeah, and we've certainly seen, in fact, just yesterday I was catching the NA qualifiers, we saw a mid-Dazzle come out, and that has history too, so... It's could be a core, it could be a support, and maybe that's to the benefit of Chaos where, again, we're talking about they don't know the mid matchup, so depending on this final pick, that's where they could determine what they would like to run themselves.
Yeah, there's not a lot in the pool that actually just beats Dazzle 1v1. That hero is an incredibly strong laner.
You may now
Alright, so it is going to be the Pugna. It's kind of it's a hero that can play quickly. You can take towers with it if you're Tiny and your Sand King are playing with you. It's really, really easy to get quick picks, especially when you have Era on the AA. You shoot a blast, like 1 or 2 stuns, and that hero is just going to fall over. It is going to be the mid Dazzle. up against the Pugna. This is one of the few heroes that I think has a decent matchup against Dazzle because you can decrep yourself, so you can't like continually reapply the poison. He's got longer attack range, so you have a pretty good way of harassing. Since his int gain is so high, his base damage ends up becoming pretty good on top of that. And defensively, decrep is pretty good this game against the Juggernaut, but the rest of the heroes besides Naga are still pretty susceptible to that Omni Slash. So I think that Faded is still going to have a better time than what Frost had in the previous match. But I really think that this mid matchup is super important for Chaos because they need that hero to kind of do well in the lane. He will be able to push it no matter what because Shadow Wave is just so efficient at killing creeps. Does a lot of damage for the mana cost, and it's a low mana cost spell. So I think that no matter what, Matumba Man will still find his own farm too. I don't know what the Dazzle mid's really going to do during the mid game. I want to see like how he itemizes, like how he decides to handle playing against AA. Yep. It'll be an interesting match for sure. I'm really looking forward to this one.
There's a couple of options, right? Because Dazzle, he could certainly build it into even a right-click core. We've seen the Necronomicon being very popular, Midas Necro, the idea of taking advantage of that cooldown reduction. Or does he go more of this Guardian Greaves? We've seen it with Shadow Fiend, for example, where you play around the Guardian Greaves timing. You have a Juggernaut with an Empower. That could also be a strategy that Chaos goes for as well. So I'm with you. It's certainly still open in terms of what direction Chaos is going to try to aim for this game and how they can itemize especially.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this mid matchup because, I mean, on paper, I would probably slightly favor the Pugna, but it's not by much. And I think that for the lineup, it's more important for TFT that Chessie does well than it is for Matumba Man to do well. Just because, again, they do have that mag, and having the fallback of being able to have that Empower on the Juggernaut and take it to the late game if you want is always really, really nice. Double smoke here. Chessie's going to get his ward down. They do not see each other at all, so both wards going to be dropped and unlikely to be dewarded at this point.
Yeah, we'll see how that research comes into play if they just assume or watch a replay, something they do often that maybe going to counter order from there. But yeah, another one getting exposed. It is going to be Misery on the Magnus to clarify. He's position 5 Magnus, and truly is that Empower bot. That's the advantage, I suppose, of running a true support Magnus. Where in the offlane, he kind of wants to farm in the lane a bit and, maybe not going to hand off that Empower as much to Juggernaut in this case. But being support, you'd figure Juggernaut's going to get plenty of Empower buffs earlier on in this game even. At this point.
Yeah, I think that the laning phase is going to tell a lot for this game. Because Tiny, like you mentioned, is being played by Hanskin. If he's able to get good levels in the early game, then him in an era with the burst potential that they have, they can do so much work. But basically the only hero they can't kill is the Jug. As long as he has spin up, he should be more or less immune to that sort of thing. But everyone else is very, very susceptible to dying.
Bounty Rune contested. You got Keizu seeing Tiny there as well and falls back. How about Misery, though? He ninjas the Bounty Rune over here. And that's going to give them a 3-for-1. Now, can he get out? He did level up Skewer to help himself get there initially. He's got a TP. Tiny hasn't leveled yet. Going to wait for what's appropriate, but will he even chase at this point? Looks like he still wants to at least keep and pursue, but I think Misery should be fine in the long run. He's gonna walk away.
It's just kind of... He's got too much health, right? Like, if he uses a stun or a toss and Hanskin, he hasn't even skilled anything just yet. He just TPs, and if he just doesn't TP at all, you can never really cast his skill, so he just gets to walk it off. Kezu going for the creep cut here top, but there are 2 heroes here to stop him.
Yeah, it seems like they should be able to handle the CC. He's going to toss him back, and exactly, it's going to pull the creep wave back even. And get some counter helix procs as a result, too. And Magnus now shows up. Again, leveled up Skewer, though. So not a big damage assistant, and this is just going to be its own lane. It's going to be a 2 versus 2. And Nagasiren's like, well, I guess I'll just farm over here in the meantime. Toss back on Magnus. He is getting low. And a couple more auto attacks. 1 more needed. Ancient Apparition will pick up the first blood. So they do eventually dwindle down Magnus to get that kill. But Keizu's still confident he can take this creep wave. The double stout shield doing work. He seems like he is fine for now.
He'll be alright for the time being. Honestly, it might be a blessing that Misery died there, because I think it's more important that Kezu gets through. Yeah, Hanskin's actually just dead.
Oh.
Dire's tower is under attack.
Toss back. He's going to survive, right? The Battle Hunger is not enough damage.
Yeah, it's not enough. Not at level 1. But the big difference is, like, having a level 2 spin means you kill the wave so much faster. It's almost like 50% damage increase going. Actually, it's more than that from level 1 to level 2.
Yeah, 60 to 100. So if he can get level 3 sooner than later, would be nice. Going to end up pulling this creep wave as he doesn't have any more regen. He has that salve in the stash. Nagasaren's running over, trying to catch, but of course no ensnare yet. And he will be fine. So this is turning into being a very interesting lane, as we do see with these creep cutting strategies. And Axe, of course, the king of that.
This is kind of why I thought that Chaos would try to avoid this matchup. I thought they would want to put Kezu against the Sand King for like this specific reason. Like, sure, he hasn't died himself, but he's not going to be getting nearly as much as he could be if he was just in a 1v1 and then you just have the Jug top, and Spin can threaten Naga in the early game, right? Because their strength gain isn't spectacular, whereas you can't threaten the Naga at all like this. They do find the Sand King bottom, though. Milan manages to get that kill.
Well, I was watching that. That was honestly pretty odd from Zibby. He doesn't have Burrow Strike leveled up with the way he's playing this. He just couldn't the creep wave like Axes. He kind of just accepted death at that point. I mean, I suppose that is a strategy where he was out of mana anyways and had killed most of the creep wave, so nothing wrong with just dying and getting back. Usually you want to suicide at that point, but either way, it seemed a little off, and it gives up a solo kill to Dark Willow as a result.
Yeah, he's got 2 sentries on him as well. He's trying to find his way back into like a decent position, but he's, like you said, no Burrow.
Taking.
If he dies again, this lane is really... Okay, you got 3.
Gets level 3 and he levels it up. Yeah, that would have been bad, because then TP's on cooldown, has to do the lonesome walk. So he'll survive, but again, he's already used a bit of his regen. He only has 1 Tango left. Still not a great circumstance to be in for Zibbe.
Yeah, this mid matchup, we haven't talked a lot about it because there's a lot of shenanigans going on top. They even... Hanskin gets cliffed. He's forced to TP back to the shrine, so he's going to be here to try to stop Kezu some more. And Kezu's out of regen again, so sitting at about half HP, there's no way he can continue this creep cut, and bottom again. Zibbe gonna be going down.
Yep. That's a brutal combo. I mean, without Burrow Strike especially, he's pretty much dead. Curse Crown on top of the spin.
This is one benefit of having the Willow Jug against the Sand King, is that the Axe would never kill the Sand King. He wouldn't even pressure him, really. They would both just farm.
Yeah.
Little skewer.
Regen rune picked up by Chessie. Misery trying to set up a kill on Hanskin, though. Matoma Man throwing out the heal. Taking the avalanche, and Roshan will say thank you very much. I'll take this kill from you. So Roshan credit for that one. The Nether Blast is in time and takes out Matoma Man. Painful indeed. Misery is going to try to keep walking away, but Chessie has another Nether Blast coming out. If that connects, it does. A double kill for the Pugna, and here comes that tower pressure now with more Nether Blasts.
Man, that TP was so optimistic from Matuma, man. I can't believe that he actually went for that. Like, having to run back to your lane at 4 minutes as a mid, oof, that feels real bad. And now Chessie, you know, he's going to be level 6 almost by the time he gets back, and Matuma Man's still level 4.
Yeah, this Pugna is starting to really get a bit of a lead. And CS, I suppose, is still actually very even, but that tower pressure starting to kick in. As you mentioned, level advantage, perhaps the biggest thing, a full level that he has over the Dazzle. His 5-minute bounty rune spawn, and TFT does a much better job this time around. In fact, they get all 4 of them after losing the first set of bounty runes 1-3 in favor of Chaos. So the slight overall advantage this game now for TFT.
Yeah, this is good stuff. And I think the Naga is still going to have a pretty good game for a good amount of time. Like, obviously there will come a stage where Faded with the Empower is just going to be enormous, and he's going to just do so much damage in the fights because of that Empower. But it's quite a while before that really starts to become too big of an issue. Zibby again, bottom.
Trouble. There's that Cursed Crown, and spin not even needed at this point. BT Faded just simply right-clicking, and that's an easy kill. Has the drums queued up, back to the mid lane. All right, Misery will just see Hanskin hiding nearby, and that'll be the end of that, so nothing really coming of it. But Juggernaut, just like last game on the Phantom Lancer, VT Faded, he's having a very good time with his farm, and in fact, top right now in the game.
Yeah, I don't know, this situation doesn't seem super great from Chaos. I mean, they can slow roll it if they really need to. Misery gonna get spotted here by Hanskin. 2 level 2s, you know, some casual D-warding here.
Some mind games coming out. Misery, though, he's being followed by the Illusions and Ancient Apparition in pursue. Chilling Touch will be activated. No Cold Feet. Wouldn't be hitting, so no point. And Magnus just kind of keeps walking away. So, yeah, the supports kind of have their own game going on as top lane. Wrapping around KZU. They feel like they have enough pressure for a kill now, but KZU's too slippery. He's got those brown boots, and he's going to walk through the trees. He'll be fine.
Yeah, they're putting a lot of emphasis on keeping KZU down this game. I mean, it makes sense because like during the mid game, he is their tempo. He's the guy who starts the fights. If he gets his Blink Vanguard as fast as they did in game 1 on the side of TFT, could be some real problems for them. But they're like he doesn't even have his Vanguard, and he's so far away, and he's gonna die here as well.
Yeah. Talk about addressing Axe. I mean, when the Pugna rotates over, you know they really want to lock him down. Now, Zibbe does go down to the bottom lane, so both teams losing their offlaner. I mean, neither Sand King or Axe is having the greatest time, but this is what Pugna does. Level 4 Nether Blast, and the towers just start melting. That's going to be a tier 1 top. Remember, the mid tower is also close to half-life as well, so he's going to port back mid, and wouldn't be surprised to see that going down sooner than later.
Yeah, I think it's more important for KZU, I think, to have a game on the side of Chaos than it is for the Sand King. Because we've already been seeing, like, the Tiny and the AA with the Pugna burst damage is already more than enough to get kills. And they're pretty good about being able to get in because they have Toss. So they can close the gap a lot easier than Chaos can without the use of items. So I really like that TFT has prioritized just, bullying KZU basically out of having a game. They are going to lose the Willow on the side of Chaos, and Fade with the spin.
Yeah, Fade's still feeling like he can make a play here, and he certainly can. He takes out Ancient Apparition. Not much that Pugna could do at that point, so does find the free kill and ends up being a 1-for-1 trade between the two. He's saying I can rotate as well despite being a core. He's back to the bottom and making that progress towards the drums, but yeah, noticing Pugna now jumps up to top net worth, and Naga Siren's not far behind either. Frost is doing very well. The Yasha into Manta style, of course, going to be the play for the Naga Siren. So yeah, you talk about Axe getting locked down, certainly more significant for Chaos than it is perhaps the Sand King for TFT, but he's going to die again. That's 5 deaths. I mean, that's a lot of deaths, Draskyl. It seems like that's also going to be an issue.
I mean, he is dying a lot, but he's also level 6 in 9 minutes against a dual lane that is very high kill potential. Ooh, mid lane.
Bramble Maze heal. If they kill Pugna, that's big. The Cursed Crown, not going to be enough. And Milan, he'll finish it, though. In fact, Matama Man, credit for the kill. The poison taking him down. That's a 4-kill streak stopper. 400+ gold going the way of Dazzle. That's a big kill for Chaos.
Yeah, Pugna's base armor isn't so hot, and obviously poison does physical damage, so the longer that stuff's on you, the more it hurts. And air, level 4. Nice Bramble.
That Bramble connects on top of the Shockwave. The skewer backwards, and good execution for Chaos. Misery knows he might be in a bad spot now, though. If anything, he's going to make them take time, and you know what? No one snare for Naga Siren means Naga Siren no point to chase. Can't really catch up without support.
Yeah, he doesn't have ensnare skilled even, so it's totally normal build coming in from Frost. But yeah, he doesn't care too much about the mag. Bounty Rune's going to be spawning. See how many TFT can get this time. Looks like it's going to be a 3-for-1 in favor of Chaos.
Yeah. Should be. There you go. So Chaos has the better of this one. Quite a bit of trading back and forth between these teams from the Bounty Runes.
I mean, this is a really cool game to watch because it's very close. Like, it's almost impossible to tell who really has the lead. It's going to come down to how the fights actually start to roll out, like post-Blink Dagger coming in from the Axe, which, interestingly enough, KZU's opted to just go for a hood. So he's not going for the aggression play. Middle lane, Tune to Man, no Grave skilled.
Tiny back with the toss, and the Terrorize is not going to save him either. So, yeah, Matama Man, you mentioned, no Grave skilled early on, as choosing to pass it up for the 404 build. Might have wished he had it there at that point. But, yeah, back to your point with the hood pickup on Axe. Is this maybe because of the Pugna just taking off this game, you feel?
I think it's a number of things. Like, their team does so much magic damage. The Pugna is obviously having a great game, but, like, Handskin 6. The AA is going to be 6-2 pretty soon, and that is just a tremendous amount of burst that is very hard to tank through without something like a hood. So even if he did go for like a Vanguard, it doesn't necessarily make him any harder to kill for TFT's lineup. So it kind of makes sense. Eventually, I assume that's just going to turn into a pipe anyway, which you would need against AA Sand King regardless. So I don't hate it. It just makes his aggressive timing a little bit later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, again, has the blink queued up now, and it seems like KZU is finding some room to recover, as currently nobody else is in the lane. Naga Siren's been in the jungle for a bit. That's what she does, of course, and splitting up between some camps. with her in the illusions to try to maximize and be efficient as possible with the farm. Magnus checking out the Dire jungle over here is going to skewer away, getting decrepified, and that'll be fine to keep him alive. But TFT showing that they wouldn't mind defending this maybe. Nice deny from Zibe, making the best of that situation. There's that spin TP, the free one that you talked about earlier too. But Dark Willow, caught by the Ice Blast. That Shadow Realm's not going to save the Dark Willow. And Pugna gets the kill there. So Pugna 6-1-0 right now. Has the Aether Lens, a Yule's queued up. And the progress is certainly there for Chessie.
Yeah, Pugna's one of those heroes that he can take off really quickly as long as he has a decent lane. Like, he doesn't need to really crush it, but as long as he gets his level 7, level 8 on time, he'll be able to walk towers and kind of just take them. And I think that's more or less why Matumba Man has not left mid, is because they really want that tier 1 mid to be alive. It's the most important tower. You have a Magnus Jug lineup that wants to be able to farm. Misery is just dying to Naga Illusion's bottom, by the way.
And yeah, he's certainly dead. Support Magnus goes down.
But I mean, that's the part on the map, like, as weird as those type of deaths look, that's the part of the map where the cores absolutely do not want to be. Like, top right now, they're counter-pressuring the tier 1. Omni off on the Handskin, nice decrypt.
Ice Blast, it was flying in, it came late for action, it doesn't connect on a Juggernaut either, so the Ice Blast all the way from the bottom of the map just could not get there in time. And VT faded, he'll just keep spinning, he's going to hit by the stun there, but it doesn't matter, and he's working towards that Maelstrom now. Seems to be a go-to build as play for these Juggernauts. Hans getting caught in the Bramble Maze though as he's running back towards Roshan. Bedlam on top of that with the Cursed Crown. Milan, not enough damage though. Tiny will survive this, the stick use, hoping to keep him alive. Chessie's nearby, he's dealing with this Magnus who's behind the tower. A little funky here, Misery. He's trying to get the tower killed. It's not going to happen just yet. The Ice Blast coming through the Terrorize to push up Pugna, but down goes Magnus. Milan picks up the tower kill, but something tells me it's going to come at the cost of his life. Or maybe not. Shallow Grave with the TP. No, the song committed. Oh, that's a hefty cooldown.
I mean, to be fair, when else are you going to use Song?
Yeah.
Like, I think it's quite hard for Chaos to really commit to him. So how do they kill him, right? The Axe would have to have Blink Dagger, he'd have to get Omni'd. I think it's actually completely acceptable for Frost's Song for that kill, because it does also result in them getting it. So, all things considered, it's a long cooldown, but realistically, there's nothing on Chaos that really threatens to kill him right now. And he's feeling pretty good about it. Like, he's got his Manta pretty much done. He's insanely farmed at this stage in the game.
Yeah, showing about a 1,500 net worth lead, and I look back at KZ at the bottom, just notice he got his Blink Dagger. Going to continue to farm for now, but that's, of course, key for Chaos, and trying to make some plays with it. Magnus.
Epi Blink top.
Juggernaut caught. There's that Epi Blink as mentioned. BT Faded going for the spin TP, though, and it will be successful. So Juggernaut continues to take advantage of the Blade Fury TP out. Not much they can do to stop that at this point. As 15-minute bounty runes, Misery will be nearby, but he's, actually, okay, Hanskin gets it, though. It's very slow to pick up the RP on top of this now. It's Keizu, jumped in initially, Zibe's getting low, he's able to stun away for the time being. Tiny, tossing on out, Axe over to his teammate, even an Ancient Apparition. Zibe's getting very low still, hiding inside that Sandstorm, but they have the vision needed to Decrepify. He's just out of range of the call. They are going to catch Tiny, though. The Coaling Blade is on cooldown as it was early, as Era, he destroys the bounty rune in front of them, and he walks away. So very chaotic fight there. It ends up being 2 kills for Chaos Esports Club, but Nagasar just continues to do her thing bottom lane and farm, so you could argue it's actually decent for TFT still.
I mean, the kills definitely weren't the best, but yeah, I see your point. Like, he's actually gaining net worth on Faded at this point, even with these in power. Truth be told, though, Faded is playing pretty aggressively, and he hasn't been empowered too much. I think he's gotten it like 4 or 5 times in the 60-minute game so far. But we'll have to see. I mean, I'm still thinking that TFT have a pretty good shot. But if things are just kind of left alone, there will come a point where the Pugna will start to fall off. Like, this hero just innately, he functions much better in like the 15 to 30-minute range than he does post 30 minutes. Things like Nullifiers start coming out. There's like hoods and pipes and Lotus Orbs and Force Stats, and Pugna basically hates playing against all those types of items. So I would assume that for TFT's sake that they, once that Diffusal Blade comes out, and maybe like, I don't know if he wants to go hard or BKB or what, but yeah, we'll have to see. Handskin getting caught here.
Tiny, don't think he's getting away from this one. 4 heroes in the area. He's standing his ground, but KZ credit for the kill, and they're going to group up and keep pushing top. Yeah, we haven't talked too much about the Dazzle, by the way, but he's got the Necronomicon. He queues up a Pipe next, so we put already on Axe. It's a little curious that it's going to be the Dazzle, the one that goes the full pipe.
I mean, double pipe isn't even bad. Like, you can stack them. True. It's not bad at all against Epicenter and Pugna and Tiny and AA Blast. Like, that's a lot of damage from just purely magic sources.
Dire's structures are fortified.
Well, that's what he has plans to make, at least for now. Top lane TFT showing that they're not going to just give up this tier 2 tower. Sand King's cutting through. Magnus checking things out. He'll spot a couple. It doesn't see the Sand King yet. Is going to get jumped, though, because of this, and they burst down Magnus. And that's the cue for Chaos to get the hell on out of there. And by the way, bottom lane's being split push this whole time by Frost. So BT Faded, he'll address it with that Empower buff and push it back out. But Nagasaran continuing to look at that net worth, and he's got a Diffusal Blade now as well as Dazzle. Uh-oh. Is this bad for Dazzle? Well, maybe not initially. He's going to scare off Frost. Frost doesn't want to. If it was a true 1 versus 1, I'm sure he would, but he obviously thinks teammates are coming. And he'd be right.
Yeah, there's no way Matuma Man ever kills him in a 1v1. It's just not possible. He has 2 dispels, and the only way that you solo kill on Dazzle really is Poison Touch. And since he can remove it immediately with either popping Mirror Image or the Manta style, that's kind of why. I don't know. It's really strange because I really want to favor the Naga in this game, but between Axe and Willow and RP and Empower, I just can't really see the Naga turning into that really true hard position 1 that you would want to see. Because there's just too many things on Chaos that deal with it. So someone else is going to have to do a lot of the heavy lifting, and I guess that's where you look to Chesty, is they are going to find Matuma Man off on his own here in his jungle.
I suppose that's where you can maybe see a Tiny transitioning, and you're getting at Pugna will start to taper off in the later game as far as damage threat, but if Pugna goes more of this damage focus, something like the eventual AC, the Echo Saber even, perhaps, I mean, you get the point. He could build it into the right click, but at least for now is going to be going the Blink Dagger, and he's thinking about farming. And yeah, his net worth isn't the greatest, so that's a pipe dream certainly.
I mean, this Naga is soaking up so much of the map. Like, that's just what this hero does. So that, like, normally position 4s might get a little more than Handskins getting this game, but it's just the nature of their lineup. Like, Pugna kills waves super fast, Naga kills waves super fast. To be honest, the fact that his net worth is as high as it is kind of surprising, because there is just not a lot for him to acquire on the map.
Mid-tier 2 goes down, favoring TFT, but Chaos farming up here. Again, Magnus just being that true Empower bot, sitting behind the Juggernaut, has level 4 power.
He got the 20 attack speed at 15 on Jug? That's crazy. I mean, it does benefit your Omni, but 50 movement speed during Blade Fury is so good. That's crazy. I don't know how many times I've seen Jugs take that talent. This might be one of the first times I've seen it.
Yeah, I can't say for certain, but it obviously makes the point that he wants to just be more aggressive with it and go for those quick burst kills. His 20-minute bounty rune perhaps could come into play here with a fight, but that's not going to happen. Chaos doing a good job of controlling that room, but Frost is just down here by himself yet again, and he gets both of them pretty freely. He's got an Eagle Slog now, so this Nagasaran, I get your point that the Radiant team has a lot of answers to this farm Naga, but still, she is getting the farm, and that is good news for TFT, and at least giving them the shot.
It does also mean that if Chaos don't execute a fight correctly, the Naga will just eat them alive. Like that hero, if you don't get the RP or an Omni or something big like a Blink Axe call, maybe Kezu he does have his Blade Mail now. Okay, so yeah, with those combination of items, they can kill him. But if they mess it up and TFT are able to disengage and go again, it gets real rough for Chaos. So I think that's kind of how they want to go about taking a fight. A blast into the pit. It's going to scout out Chaos doing Roshan currently, and bottom lane is still just continually being pressured by these illusions. But they are going to TP on Frost, so we'll see. They do have the song.
Trying to defend Roshan. It's not a very fast Roshan. It's taking still a little bit of time. But that minus armor as Magnus just explodes. So no RP threat now, and you got to think TFT wants to engage, but Roshan's going to go down. Oh, the steal. No, BT Faded picks up the Aegis. In fact, Zibe goes for the kill on Dark Willow instead of jumping in the pit. Meanwhile, back here, the song used, canceled eventually. Trying to follow up for some more kills. Double buyback though, so everyone curly up. The Omni Slash starting to bounce around, and that's Tiny in the midst of that, getting cut down. Decrepify keeping him alive for now. The life drain as well. Hanskin's going to survive thanks to that great support of that mid Chessie. Playing Pugna. Juggernaut going down. The Aegis bringing him back up. He's spinning on top of Frost. How far does he want to commit though? Keizu gets the call, but is that the best play? Decrep on Frost as he got called in. Matoma Man is picked off in the mid lane meanwhile. Zibe eventually able to run him down and secure that kill. So Dazzle going down in the 2 buybacks. That's a 3 for nothing for TFT. Really 4 when you count the Aegis kill on top of it.
Yeah, that was really nicely played from TFT. They get a pick off in the beginning of the fight. I think they killed it was Milan, like above the Roshan pit. I think the Willow was the one who actually died first there after Misery. So no RP. Obviously, Misery is insanely far away from Blink. Like at this point, I'll honestly be surprised if he's even able to pick it up at all. Which is really good for TFT because not having to worry about that secondary form of counter initiation after your song goes off is huge. And big props to Chessie with how he played that fight. 2 really big decreps, saving Hanskin from the Omni for a very, very long period of time. Eventually he still does fall, but it made them waste so much time, you know? And like at that point, Faded, he had to spin, he gets killed, he comes back, he tries the Omni, doesn't get a kill from the Omni. And then at that point, Chaos are more or less on the back foot. But that's what I was talking about. You know, it's like if TFT play the fight correctly, they can still win the fights. I just think it was a little bit harder for them than it would have been for Chaos. But I suppose, you know, Misery at this point, being the position 5 mag and not having access to the blink, it could become more of a hindrance, you know, because that no threat of RP at all is a really big deal.
Well, I want to go a little further into that, but hold that thought because we have a very possible fight breaking out. The smoke play from TFT. Zibe's going in. They find Juggernaut. That's a perfect kill if they can get it, which they absolutely can. The burst is real. Talk about the exact target you're looking for if you're TFT. And he is out for 45 more seconds. No buyback. So what was a Roshan kill for Chaos is all of a sudden a couple minutes later turning favor for TFT. And they're going to pressure bottom. Without Juggernaut, can they actually stop this? I don't think so.
Dire's top tower is under
I mean, I don't think they can either, not without the use of the Juggernaut. This looks to be just a pretty easy melee racks coming in from TFT, and this is a time they're looking for. You know, it's 24 minutes in. Their Pugna is still very strong. The defensive decrypts this game have been really on point. I have to commend Chessie for not overcommitting. It's really easy on a hero like Pugna to get, you know, really aggressive and, you know, try to go for the life drains because you have this lens and everything and your cast range is really long and it feels nice to be able to cast your spells, but he understands the functionality of his hero in fights and it's showing. You know, saving people from the Jug is probably one of the best things he can do, and since he also has Yules, he can counterplay Keizu and he can counterplay Faded with 2 spells and it completely negates their influence in the fights. Like that Pugna pick from TFT is doing work this game.
Yeah, as you'd hope for with a 10th pick for the final tribe, and certainly Chessie living up to that. Back to the point about Misery though on Magnus. Yeah, no blink dagger, of course, playing position 5. That's still a way off if he still even wants to get it. I'm sure maybe does. But point is, the last couple of fights I've noticed too, his positioning. He's been pretty much in the front at both of the Roshan pit and up at that top lane when he was kind of tanking the gank, I suppose. But that makes me kind of wonder, you know, is that the most efficient way to play? Because you do that, it gives away any threat of RP, and it does seem like it opens up TFT quite a bit to play much more aggressive and go for some big plays.
I kind of see where you're coming from, and I thought about it for a little bit too, and really the conclusion that I've come to is it's better for him to die than anyone else on his team. Like, just flat out, if he dies, it's the least impactful to the fight because he has a level 1 skewer and he doesn't have the dagger. So what are the odds of him getting a good RP with a level 1 skewer? Basically, it's not great. So if he dies and his team is able to walk away, or he dies and his team is able to take a successful engagement off of that, then I think that's more than worth it for him. But the unfortunate part about it is that everyone on TFT offers a pretty good amount contribution-wise to the actual fight, whereas Misery is just helping his Jug farm. That's basically his entire contribution besides like putting wards down and stuff. So, I like I said, what you're saying, it pretty much means it'll most likely not get a blink unless they get some huge high ground defense at this point. But yeah, he's kind of a liability in the sense that he doesn't really offer any team fight.
It really is amusing. It's almost like he's on a leash with this Juggernaut. He's just following him every which way, and is gonna get pushing in with the illusions of Juggernaut, but Sand King was in the area, at least is now elsewhere. But the rest of his team for TFT is pushing the top. They have a 6,000 net worth lead. Again, no more Aegis to worry about as that was taken out immediately. The next Roshan is 2.5 minutes before a possible spawn this time. But Tiny's got a blink, Pugna's got a blink with the Aeon disc recently purchased. So he's that much more difficult of a kill, and it's done a great job of using the life drain defense leap in as bottom tier 2 goes down, but you want to think about looking to defend that top lane if you're Chaos. God, this Naga Siren almost has a heart. In fact, is a heart coming out? It sure is. That's going to be a full heart on the Naga Siren.
Yeah, I actually feel like this game might just be over, honestly. Like, this is, I just don't know how they're supposed to engage as Chaos right now. Like, if the Mag had a blink, it's a very different story. But the fact of the matter is, this guy not having Dagger means that they have very limited ways of taking engagements. You don't have that threat of another hero that can just turn the fight. So as soon as Kezu commits, they can choose exactly what they want to do. They can disengage with Song, or they can commit themselves with like Sand King and AAL and all the other stuff. And they've shown that they have insane burst. So much burst that it's really hard to grave. They are smoked though.
And they're going to catch Hanskin initially. Bramble Maze cuts off Frost. Hanskin, DeGrep, once again going to save, at least delay this a bit. And eventually does go down. So it seems like TFT just simply wants to retreat. Not allow Chaos to take more advantage of that fight. And, you know, again, it goes back to Tiny just tanking the gank, as mentioned. And Chaos still hunting, though. I mean, they didn't really use a lot, to be fair, to make that kill happen.
Yeah, they're feeling super confident. Like, they're sitting here knowing that there's 5 members of Chaos in the vicinity. They're just like, yeah, whatever. Come at me, bro. My Naga has 3,000 HP and 30 armor. Try to kill me.
Yeah, that's, I mean, Casey's going in with this newly purchased Shadowblade. He wants the Pugna. Doesn't want Naga Siren. Obviously, Pugna, much better target. Possible kill, but nope, they are going to go into Naga Siren with the call. DeGrep comes out immediately, and look at Axe just melting away. Shallow grab saving him for the last second to keep him alive. Naga Siren thinking about a song. She will activate it. A spin from VT Faded. They get a stun on Naga Siren, but she's going to continue to run. Meanwhile, Kezu, he ends up dying to the Nether Blast, and that is the only death so far. TFT resetting. Ready to go back in. Zibby finds the target in Magnus. He still has RP. He can't screw away, though. He's trying to. The Shallow Grave will save him, but the toss in with the illusion. Trying to chase him down for the kill. DeGrep is up, but they cannot pursue further. They cannot make it happen, but Juggernaut's caught now. He's at half-life, gets healed up. He is spinning. And he makes it back to the base. Close calls all over the board for Chaos. And now Milan's trying to drag everyone to the right, which they are going to chase. DeGrep slowing things down. Bramble Maze helping out with the Curse Crown, but Chessie in the life drain. However, the Curse Crown procs. Milan, he's going to maybe try to deny himself, and not going to happen. Zibbe will make the kill take place.
Man, I'm really a fan of how Chessie's played this game. Like, everything from his positioning to his itemization, like, everything he bought, I feel like is the best possible thing to buy in his situation. Like, he, even in the build-up to Aeon Disc, he recognizes that one of the only ways that they can lose a fight is if he dies first. Because then the Juggernaut's free to pretty much Omni whoever he wants besides Naga, and that means that any support essentially would die to him. I guess the Sand King would be able to live because he has the Yules, but like, he has just played this game about as good as you could have asked.
Fight engaging once again. Pugna explodes. So, well, he's been doing great, but
I cursed him.
Good job, Draskyl. It's, he's going to thank you for that later. Zibbe. Girl strikes in on the Axe, and TFT sort of wants to engage this. Even losing Pugna, though, that seems ambitious. Maybe just call it even and fall back, and both teams are somewhat doing that. And I believe that will be the end of the engagement right there. So yeah, Pugna kind of blowing up. Shows you that Chaos certainly still has plenty of fight in them, and they can get some burst damage in.
Yeah, unfortunately his Aeon was still down for the top fight, so wasn't available to save his life there. Interesting pickup by Faded, by the way. He goes for a Linken's. I mean, against the Sand King, I kind of get it, but he already has Yules. So you buy yourself, like, what, maybe a quarter of a second if the Sand King knows you have the Linken's already, because he has to obviously use that first before he can stun. But I just feel like with this item, you know, until he gets MKB, they're not going to be able to kill the Naga. Like, he absolutely needs the Monkey King bar in order to bypass the evasion. Even the illusions are giving him a hard time. So still a while, I think, before Chaos has the necessary damage up with to really take down that Naga Siren. I will say, though, that if the game goes for a very long time, like let's say they defend for another 20 minutes or so, there will come a point where I think that Chaos can mount some sort of a comeback, but I don't think that TFT are going to let it go that long.
That's the question to be answered from TFT, really, and I guess a Roshan will help get us there. The second Roshan. You have Naga Siren still pushing the bottom in the mid lane. Going to force pressure on Chaos by Keizu. He's hunting. Oh, Zippy just stunned into counter ward, and he is caught. Pugna, the life drain on top of the Yules. He's going to survive for now. Ice Blast coming under response as well. That spin's going to be wearing off of BT Fade, but the Terrorize pushing two heroes back. Sand King included still very low. He manages to get the stun off. Tiny gets the Avalanche as he takes a stun, but the Naga sleep will stop any chance I can't. Never mind. She TP'd out a little too early, and they do catch Tiny, so.
To be fair, I think Hanskin hesitated a bit with his TP.
Yeah.
I think he hesitated about like a half a second. And normally, you know, it doesn't matter that much, but I think he actually would have lived if he didn't. So buyback immediately from the Tiny. They just want to force Chaos out of the pit. I mean, it's still a game. Like, the Juggernaut's net worth is relatively close to the Naga. Like, 3K is basically like one lost team fight in terms of net worth for the Jug. You get a lot of gold for kills now in this patch, so. Still time for Chaos to make their way back into the game. They are down a set of racks, and the tier 3 top is also gone. And that does mean that if TFT take one convincing fight, that Chaos base could just explode. Naga kills the buildings very, very quickly. One thing, too, that I wanted to point out that I feel like bears mentioning at this point is EXP-wise, TFT are not looking so hot. Like, if you look at the levels, Matuma Man and Faded are both level 21. Yeah. The Naga's 18 and Chessie's 17. And a lot of that's just due to the fact that TFT have been playing around each other a lot. Like, it's been a lot of 5-manning, so they're not really efficiently getting EXP on the map. And level 25 and level 20 talents are still a pretty big deal. So, like, when the Juggernaut gets 25, he can either go for the 600 HP or the Omni. I assume this game he's probably going to be going for the health. And then, you know, obviously Matumba Man, he can get the armor reduction, which ends up being huge, or the poison touch slow. And I honestly, I'm not sure which one's better this game, because there's a lot of the spells on the side of TFT. But yeah, that's kind of why I was saying if the game goes too long, it could be a problem for TFT.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I was actually just about to bring that up myself. Happened to notice that. Specifically the Naga Siren. And that's what really stood out to me, because they are sticking together as a team, but Naga Siren is one of those heroes that you figure is going to be highest level in the game, or if not very close, just because of she's split pushing. And it seems like Frost has been doing a fair amount of that, but man, still 3 levels behind both the Dazzle and the Juggernaut. It is crazy to see, and you see right there the Ensnare to take off the Lincolns, but Frost will just run away instead. And you see also the progress as far as items go. Naga Siren now has the Scythe queued up for the last slot, essentially, that she's thinking about building, so more crowd control. I also noticed the Scythe for Dazzle is being built too, so either team is going to have that.
Yeah, the 50% cooldown reduction hex on Dazzle is nuts. Like, this hero carries usable items probably better than any other mid hero in the game, just because of how frequently you can use them. So they are going to go for a smoke here. They don't have Kezu, and their Shrine is dead, which means there's no way he can get to this fight.
Well, they're going to go for Frost. No, okay. That's going to be a very early sleep in the fight and trying to figure out what to do with this. VT Fade is able to spin, though, and he goes in. Zibby on top of the Sandstorm. Hans got the combo. They take out Dark Widow. So now Kezu's back up. He mentioned no Shrine, though. It's going to be a while. Dazzle's being collapsed on by the Naga Siren. The Shallow Grave saving for now. He's going to die shortly after, though. He has a buyback. Will he use it? VT Fade manning up. Going to go for the spin TP play. And that means they're giving up on Roshan, though. And TFT should be able to get it now. So that's going to be a cheese and Aegis.
It was kind of a Hail Mary, I feel, to try to stop TFT from getting Roshan, because this being a cheese Rosh is kind of the opening that TFT need to at least get another set of racks. Like, they can just push down top. The wave isn't even past the river yet. Faded's trying to push it out while he realizes that TFT are still inside the pit. But we need some lane pushing going on here from Chaos. They need to get this wave away from mid. They need to push out bottom and top. There's a lot of stuff that needs to happen in the next like 60 seconds or so if Chaos want to be able to hold their base.
You see Magnus manages to pick up that Blink Dagger. That's pretty big, so perhaps Misery could make that big RP play.
There is surprise factor. That is one thing. Like, as crazy as it sounds, it's a 30-something minute blink. And sometimes, you know, you're just in a game and you go, oh, he just got blink, you know, and since there's no wards that are going to scout him out, there is the opportunity, like you said, for Misery to get an RP because they just don't know he has the item.
Yeah.
Not sure if it's going to be impactful enough just yet. And they did not give the Aegis to Naga. They gave it to Chessie.
Yeah, I mean, how do you feel? Because Naga Siren is very tanky. I mean, we're dealing with
she's got almost 4,000 HP. I think it's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just mentioning it just in case, because they, at this point, since MKB is up on the Jug, they do actually have enough damage to kill him. Between Mjolnir and MKB procs, that's actually like where a majority of your damage comes from against heroes like Naga, because they have such high base armor. So you're getting the cleave from the Empower, you're getting the bonus damage, which obviously helps. But, okay. They get the Linken's Break on the Faded, but I think they misused their items there.
They did. Yep. He obviously meant heals to break and then stun, but...
Yeah.
Whoops. The Linken's taken off again. Juggernaut gonna spin aggressively to take out the Pugna ward. And falls back into the base. So the ranged Rax is going to be beat down. The constant illusion spam from Naga Siren clearly an issue, especially with the stats build that she went for. And so Juggernaut, I mean, he does plenty of damage, but it still even takes him a while to take them out. You just see how Frost is just, why would he stop? He's just going to keep the pressure up between the Manta style and the mirror image ability. So Chaos has ways to push back, but even with that, it's still plenty of damage. And how do they get out of their base? I mean, they're going to need to make some kind of smoke play or some RP play, but TFT is playing this very smart. They're not forcing too much. They're just letting the illusions slowly dwindle down the racks.
Yeah, I mean, Chessie can kind of bob and weave a bit, do some poking. He just threw out another blast there. He's got the lens, so he can stay very far away. And he's got Aeon and Aegis. So even if Chaos commit to try to kill him, and they have Song to back them up as well, they can just run away whenever they want. Like, it's not really an issue of TFT in this position to really go all in. They can be very non-committal about how they take the pushes, which is completely fair, because if you play this way, you're not giving the opportunity to Chaos to find a fight. And look, they just get another range Rax for free. Like, it's just death by 1,000 cuts at this point.
It is. Absolutely. That's a great way to describe it. There's just so many attacks from these illusions and adds up over time. In fact, top lane, Keizu thinks he does catch the Sand King, but I think it's he the one that's going to be caught. As Ice Blast coming out, the RP, it only hits Sand King, skewer backwards. And there's the sleep to, will it be a setup or a runaway? It looks like it's going to be a setup. Axe is very low, Nether Blast, okay, didn't release it fast enough. And he's able to blink out because of that, but the initiative with the Epicenter, and Matuma Man's getting low. They've already picked up Dark Blood on Magnus, though. They're not buying back. Dazzler's got the Shallow Grave. You see the Omni Slash bouncing around. Frost is taking down a lot of damage, and Naga Siren's going to go down, so maybe regretting no Aegis on Naga Siren now, as that Juggernaut certainly does plenty of damage.
Yeah, that's why I was mentioning the Mjolnir and MKB combination. It hurts. Like, it doesn't matter how much armor or health you have against those things, because he hits so fast, he has the Empower. Like, this is, oh, is it?
Yeah, that calling out the greatest jump of the century. Axe has the Shallow Grave, though, to back up. And without Naga Siren, TFT seems like they should just be retreating. However, Keizu does go down. And maybe VT Faded overextended. It is just them two, isn't it? So, and he's dropping quickly thanks to that Echo Saber of Hanskin, who's now has to deal with the illusions after the Man Style split up on the Burrow Strike from Zibe. Oh, he gets muted. He's still got a Burrow Strike chance, but choosing not to go for it. I guess he did have Linken's. So that actually was a good nullifier there, as it prevented the Linken's takeaway. And he stays alive. Yeah, VT Faded is playing very well. He's an impressive player to watch. But still the damage done by TFT, but yeah, losing the Naga Siren, it shows you that there's still at least some sign of life for Chaos.
Yeah, I mean, it's big that they even forced TFT to go back. Like, in situations like that where TFT have essentially set up a slow siege, just killing a hero isn't really that big of a deal to TFT, because you still had that, like, concave around their base, and Chaos couldn't really get out and do anything. The fact that they had to go back, even for a second, means that you get a couple of waves, you push it out a bit, you buy a little bit of time. You didn't have to buy back on your Axe player. And you know, it's silver linings at this point for Chaos because realistically, TFT should be able to end this game just by doing what they have been, which is just walking up, not committing, waiting for Chaos to move first, because it's always easier to play into someone who makes the first move when you have heroes like Naga and Pugna who can just go for the defensive decrep or Song, because you just get that free disengage. And if they just keep doing it that way, I feel like Chaos will eventually just lose the rest of the racks. And you saw how desperate Chaos were to take a fight. Like Kezu was blinking outside of base trying to catch a Sand King. He really wanted to make something happen so it would break this kind of slow siege.
Well, speaking of the siege, TFT is back. They're smoked up, and they're being sneaky about this, trying to find the right target. Smoke eventually going to wear off, though. Kezu caught. But the shadow play, thanks to the detection, another blast used, and I put the Pugna ward very aggressive. Should be able to be right-click down easily. That gets destroyed, but again, the slow siege continues from TFT, so Chaos is going to have to go for a bit of a reach here, it feels like, once again, to stop this and make sure the game doesn't just end right here to favor TFT. But they continue to just be confined to their base, and again, I'll go back to saying that even despite just being choked in their base for so long, it feels like, they have the second and third most farmed heroes in the game. Juggernaut's keeping up with the Naga Siren, and Dazzles continue to be ahead of Pugna for most of this. So they are still finding the farm somehow, despite this.
Yeah, I think it, like, even though the net worths are kind of close between the position 1 and the position 2, it's really the supports that the biggest difference is. We are going to see Kezu get caught again. Like, someone has to leave the base, right? Like, it's just, if no one leaves the base and everyone's just farming waves as they walk up to the high ground, you basically don't have a win condition at all. Like, you're just sitting there waiting to lose. So someone has to get out of the base. They have to try to do something. Otherwise, you just eventually get choked out. But yeah, in regards to the whole network thing, it's basically the supports where the majority of the discrepancy comes in, and I suppose the position 3, there's like a 5k difference as well.
Just about everyone does have a buyback ready. Sand King and Magnus, the only two. Axe, of course, dead for 30 more seconds, but could if needed. So not the most action-packed match to cast right now for the last 5 minutes or so. But obviously TFT doing what they need to try to secure a victory, as it is a 1-0 lead right now for Chaos in the overall series. So if they can manage to come through on TFT's side, of course, that game 3 around the corner. But Axe will be up in a couple of seconds. Roshan, it's going to be a long Roshan respawn. So, that was just illusions. But TFT, you'd figure, is going to start checking that now over and over to see about going in for the Roshan kill. And it would be a third Roshan as well, which means either the Ags or the Refresher Shard, of course, to happen. So that's probably where we're going to end up next in this game. Yeah, they have the courier there.
Who would they give the Ags to on TFT? They give it to the Naga, or would they give it to, like... Well, it's not that good for... Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, Naga's already building the Ags, it looks like, potentially.
Oh, he is. Yeah, you're right.
So, for the passive, I think arguably Tiny or maybe Pugna. But the new Barrage with Tiny, we talk about maybe they're lacking some right click. He is going to be building an AC as well as the Echo Saber that he has, so maybe. But Pugna's certainly a candidate too.
I would agree with the Tiny, except for the fact that they're pushing high ground. And the Aghanims is actually like the absolute worst when you're trying to push high ground. It's because there's not really a lot of trees that you can utilize effectively just given the range, you know?
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, maybe just Pugna. I mean, you certainly got to think about Sand King too, I suppose. But Pugna, with the way that Jesse's been playing and the life drain saves and everything, it's having the option to just toggle it on and off seems so effective. So I would guess him. That's if it even is an Axe, of course. Could be the Refresher Shard. Radiant Courier gets picked off, was in the area trying to scout around. So Roshan is up in about 25 seconds now.
Radiant's top barracks are under attack.
And again, that's where TFT is going to go. Ancient Apparition also has an Axe being delivered. Holy crap. So Arrow's going to have his own.
Yeah, I mean, at this stage in the game, it's 46 minutes in. You've had full map control for like a super long time. I think it's kind of natural that eventually you would be able to pick it up, because he didn't go for the Midas, right? He went for the much more selfless arcanes into Glimmer, so he wanted to play a game where he was going to be able to contribute a bit more. But yeah, I mean, it's just the nature of the game. It's a 19k lead for TFT. They can just continue to slow play it. The melee racks in mid and top are still alive for Chaos, but it's not as if they've been able to really make a move for the past, like, what has it been, like 15 or 20 minutes at this point? They're kind of just confined to their base, and I don't really see how they're going to break it unless TFT kind of make a mistake at this point. So even though we were talking about, yeah, they are kind of underleveled comparative to the cores of Chaos, the state of the game doesn't really change for them based on levels at this point. Something has to go awry if Chaos are going to make their way back in.
Free Roshan, Refresher Shard. Here's what we have. It's going to go in the hands of, who does pick it up? Looks like Pugna has it for now, actually, on him. So he has several things to refresh, both items and ability-wise, I suppose. He'll hold on to it, push back in the middle. But now you think, does TFT go a bit more aggressive now with having those 3 extra items of actually pushing into the base, or will they still keep the illusion siege, you think?
I mean, in my opinion, there's no reason to risk going like super heavy.
True.
That's just kind of how I see it. You know, the safest way to win the game is just do what you've been doing. I mean, obviously, Faded is a little bit better at killing the illusions now because he has the correct items. He's also just sitting on 12,000 gold.
Yeah, I just saw that.
That's like some Mushi levels of gold when he used to just hoard money like that. But yeah, I don't see a reason to do anything crazy. At the same time, you do have to try to end the game eventually. So it's a weird position, right? Because it's 50 minutes in. Games get crazy when it gets to this point.
Oh yeah, you've even seen this very tournament, some crazy comebacks, and you don't want to throw yourself again. We know what's on the line. Don't have to stress that too much more, but yeah, I mean, this Juggernaut, it's not his fault necessarily, because to be fair, both the items that he would be building right now do require that secret shop, and this goes back to you for the last, it almost feels like 10 minutes. They've just been sitting in their base thanks to the constant sieging of TFT.
I mean, their courier is even dead, so like it's respawning in like 5 seconds.
Yeah. We'll see if they can sneak it out there and pick up either the Yags or the Moonshard, or hell, at this point, maybe just get both for him right now. He certainly could. Sitting on 13,000 gold now. Okay, well, yeah, he bought the initial components, but then he sold them right away, so yeah, just trying to figure out where he's at, I suppose. Yeah, we'll see if they can sneak that courier in there, because, I mean, that's pretty important. If he has an Axe and even a Moonshard, or just even either one going into the next fight, of course, that enhances him quite a bit. And we saw that Omni Slash. I think the Axe is big, absolutely, for what he could do in these fights. So they're going to try to go this way.
The consistency of the ult is really good, too, because it basically, like, halves the cooldown.
Radiant's top
And Omni, even if it's not, like, an amazing kill tool in this game, it's still very nice to give him, like, another out to buy time for his like spin to come off cooldown or his Manta to come back up, because when those two things are not available, he's pretty easy to kill from the side of TFT. Like, honestly, if he wasn't in this particular situation, I'd say he would almost want a BKB, but the problem is he can't really get rid of any of his items. Like, that's why he's already going for the Moonshard and why he's going for the Aghanims. Normally you look at this inventory and say, okay, maybe you want a BKB instead of like Nullifier, but the fact of the matter is he needs a way to remove Decrypt. Like, if he can't dispel that, he's never going to be able to Omni anyone, and then his hero just becomes useless. So that's normally where you would want the BKB instead of that item, but Nullifier is just mandatory. So his inventory essentially doesn't change. The only thing I could see maybe changing is the Manta, but I'm not even sure what he would buy. Like, it just feels like he's kind of hard stuck to these items.
Well, the chicken's returning. It went on its mission. It came back, and it made it all the way back. And it got a little scary there as the creep wave aggroed it, but he does indeed get the Yags delivered. And so at least he has that now to work with. He has another 8,000 gold saved up, so he's certainly going to go again and try to now get the Moonshard eventually. But he's going to jump out with the spin. Lincoln's has popped. Uses Manta, though, and just quickly walks away. You see the racks getting very low, though. They're going to have pop fortification for this even as the top lane push is happening. The creep wave, KZU jumps in. Gets slowed immediately. Did pop the Aeon disc on Pugna, so that's actually a decent opening for Chaos. VT Faded will continue to spin on in. Takes a side thought. Here we go. Jump in from Hanskin onto Axe. He drops to half life. You look at VT Faded, he gets very low back here. remaining alive, though. He can't use his Omni Slash yet. His mana's currently spent. He needs to get that mana back. That's going to be a song, and with the Ags, it will start healing up Tiny. Back to nearly full life, pretty good, but now 70-second cooldown for that Naga sleep, and Axe wants to jump in. Blade Mail popped, he gets heals immediately. Null fires up, the RP, Misery's thinking about it, he takes a stun though, he couldn't get the RP off, maybe he didn't want to. Either way, he gets stun locked and he's dead. He does buy back, as does Dazzle, who died as well. And that initiation was not what they were looking for, but it's a tough one. They are gonna lose Juggernaut too, sort of the man mode. He buys back, so I mean, everyone's still technically up, but it just shows, I mean, Chaos, it's an uphill battle.
Yeah, I mean, TFT's draft was a lot better this time around. They had a pretty solid laning phase, minus, you know, Zibe maybe dying a bit more than he maybe should have. It kind of begs a question, would it have just been better to go try versus try for Chaos and just let Kezu and Sanking both kind of do their own thing? Because I feel like Kezu was put in a position where it was very, very difficult for him to succeed. Like, they first phased Axe, which, you know, TFT did in the last game. But like against Pugna specifically and Naga, like, oh man, it's so hard to play Axe into those heroes. They're gonna go on the tube with that.
Oh, no shallow grave, but he does remain alive barely.
A blast?
First. Ice Blast coming in, is that gonna be enough? No, he had the BKB and he's gonna make it back to the shrine. Meanwhile, Juggernaut sheeped. At half-life, the stun with the World Strike, he's out. That's out for 2 minutes, no buyback, and that absolutely is game. So we are going game 3. It did seem like it was just a matter of time. But, you know, credit to Chaos, they hung in there, but also credit to TFT, to be fair, with their composure. We've seen plenty of teams get too ahead of themselves, and, well, there's 3-2-2 for a reason. So, not the case here, though, and, hey, at least we get a game 3. I'm not complaining.
Yeah, I mean, this match was very different dynamic from game 1 for TFT, and I'm just really happy they adjusted their opening. I think that's honestly the biggest difference in these types of games, especially when I feel like both teams are pretty equally skilled, which I think we were both assuming coming into the series. It's just draft matters so much. Like, all the things in the world for TFT kind of went right, and a lot of it was just because they gave themselves the heroes to actually play the game. I feel like in game 1, they didn't really do that. And this time around, Chaos had a 3 position that almost couldn't function. It felt very reminiscent to game 1 on the side of TFT, where it's just like, okay, this Jug just does not have a game. This time around, it was Kezu on the Axe. And sure, there was a couple of missed blink calls or whatever, but to be completely honest, I'm not even sure if those made contact, it would have even made a difference.
Yeah.
So, you know, props to TFT, really well played. Chessie, probably my MVP for the match. I think he played a great game. And looking forward to game 3.
Yeah, it's a win for us as viewers in the end. We do get a game 3, and TFT versus Chaos Esports Club. They know what's on the line. Again, it is double elimination, so worst case you drop to lower bracket, but of course would love to advance on to the winner side of it and keep things rolling. We'll see which team does that, as I'm BreakyCPK, joined by Draskyl. Game number 3 for the TI9 European Qualifying Hub coming up next.